Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to acknowledge our special guest here with us today. Senator John Brooks, if you'll hold your applause till after, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll be here a really long time. Senator John Brooks, Senator Monica Martinez, Senator Kevin Thomas, Senator Anna Kaplan, Randy Weingarten, President, American Federation of Teachers, Suffolk County District Attorney Tim Sini, Nassau County District Attorney Madeline Sieges, Dr. Ann Sullivan, Commissioner of the New York State Office of Mental Health, Dr. Howard Zucker, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health, Judge Randall Hinrichs, Beth Garvey, Special Counsel and Senior Advisor to the Governor, Kevin Bruin, First Deputy Superintendent, New York State Police, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart, Nassau County Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder, President John Nader, Farmingdale State College, and our host today, and all of the superintendents and NYSET leaders who have partnered with us on this conference today, thank you. I am honored to be here today. I first met Governor Cuomo on the bus tour we took together across the state to build support for the red flag law. That was really a tough event for me. It had only been a few months since my son, Scott Beagle, had been killed at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Scott was a teacher, a cross-country coach, and a hero. Scott was gunned down on February 14th, 581 days ago, by a 19-year-old who should have never had a gun, let alone an AR-15 assault rifle, a weapon of war. Before that terrible day, the shooter had displayed threatening behavior. It prompted his mother to contact law enforcement on multiple occasions. Even though he was known to have guns and could be harmful to himself or to others, there was nothing law enforcement could do. If Florida had a red flag law on February 13, 2018, my son, along with 16 other innocent victims, would be here today. A red flag law would have saved Scott's life. And when I told Governor Cuomo on that day just what I thought about the red flag law in Florida had it been enacted, he looked at me and he promised, and these were his words, "We will get this done." I was so proud to be a New Yorker when the legislature passed and Governor Cuomo signed the red flag law into law earlier this year. I am so thrilled to be here today with all of you and with Governor Cuomo. We all know that a good law only works if it's properly implemented, and that is what we're here to do today. Like many people in this room and across the country, my family and I are members of a club that we never asked to or never wanted to be members of. We never wanted to join that club. But thanks to laws like New York's red flag law, thanks to the people in this room who actually chose to act, and thanks to the leadership like Governor Cuomo's, we are going to end gun violence forever. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here, and I'd like you to join me in welcoming Randy Weingarten, President of the AFT.
Go get him, go get him.
Can you see me if I stand on my tiptoes? So, you know, I am, I know you're going to move.
Let me give you a little governmental assistance.
Look at that.
You shall now
And
gain
then
4 inches.
I was tall. Look, I thought he could do a lot of things. I didn't think he could do that. So I'm really glad to be here today, and I was not going to let anything stop me from being here today. Linda is not only one of all of ours and is so heroic, not just because of what she said, but when you are part of that club and you have lost a son or a daughter or a child to gun violence, the fact that she is fighting for the things that we need to do, that kind of courage and passion and the ability to get up every morning and do this for all of us is pretty remarkable, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you. You wonder, and Andy Pilata would have been here today, and I am standing in for the NYSET officers as well as AFT. You wonder, you say, why is the AFT so involved in this? And I'll tell you why. Stoneman Douglas High School is one of our schools. Sandy Hook Elementary School is one of our schools. And when you spend time with people where we used to think being in school, the worst thing that could happen is that you could get a D or an F. That now the thing that most kids fear more than anything else used to be climate. Now it's whether there will be a shooting in their school. So damn right our union has to be involved, because this is about ensuring a safe and welcoming environment in every single school, regardless of where that school is or who that person is. And Linda has already said it today, and she said it before. When I was at the junior high school that flows into Stoneman, as well as Stoneman, about a month after the horrible, tragic shooting, both the teachers at the junior high school and the teachers at Stoneman said, we knew this kid. And when you have that, and they knew what this kid was going through, and they knew what this kid was saying. And for the teachers in the room, okay, so what tools did we have before the red flag law? Okay, to refer with all of that bureaucracy and all of those issues and all of that stigma? And months go by? And just like Linda, I called the governor and I said, there has to be a different way of when you see something, say something, and be able to do this with having some kind of due process. And what has happened in 17 states is that they have now enacted these kind of red flag laws. The difference between New York's and most of these others is that teachers and administrators in New York can actually make the call. That's a big difference. In most of the others, and it's really important, it's a family member or law enforcement, all of which is really important. But in New York, it's also teachers that can make the call. But you have to know how to use it. And you have to know what the processes are, and to ensure that there's no stigmatization, to ensure that there's no racializing or bias. We have to learn how to do this stuff. We were never taught as school teachers that the first thing we had to learn how to do was active shooter drill training. But we need to learn these things. And let me say, and Linda said this already, but I'm going to say it, and we put together, even just in the last 6 months, how important these laws are. I'm not saying that they are the panacea. There's a whole bunch of other things that we need to do, and in fact, I'm really glad that today the House Committee on Education and Labor passed what they call the School Shooting Safety and Preparedness Act. And what that means is that there's now a definition of what is a school shooting, and its import is that we need to be able to have NIH and others do research so that we actually have some research on what happens and who school shooters may be, and on and on and on. In fact, the Brady campaign has found that 42% of mass shooters exhibited warning signs before committing these crimes. This is a public health emergency. It's a public health epidemic, and we need to have some research to be able to show that and see the signs. But the red flag laws can really help. Let me give you 3 quick examples. Last year in San Diego, a 79-year-old man allegedly shot a city worker and was placed in custody. Police were concerned about the man having access to firearms if he was to be released out on bail. And they requested and they received what is the official title of this, an extreme risk protection order. And what they found was an AR-15, 200-round drum magazine, 34 other rifles, and 21 handguns. And they confiscated all of those pursuant to having this extreme risk order of protection, which, by the way, you always have to go to court and have due process before this is invoked. Number 2, last year in Middlebury, Vermont, 2 students at Middlebury Union Middle School were planning to shoot a student on campus and, quote, anyone else. Another student overheard this conversation, and they notified the school principal, who then told the police. Prosecutors obtained an order, an extreme risk order of protection, or an extreme risk protection order, or a red flag, and they removed 10 weapons from these students' homes, mainly handguns and hunting rifles. And the last, and Linda said this has been invoked 2,500 times already in Florida since it was passed. Last May, a high school student in Florida, did I say it in a New York way, Florida, was stalking his ex-girlfriend after she broke up with him. Not something that's terribly unusual in our world, unfortunately. At one point, this high school student attempted to punch a boy who was seen with his ex-girlfriend. The student also threatened to post private photos of the girl on social media, saying that he would kill himself if she didn't get back together with him, and he also posted photos of an AR-15 online. I use this example because I have a sense in this room, many of us have confronted some things like this. 2 resource officers submitted affidavits for a petition against him, and all the firearms that were in his home were removed from his home. I'm not saying that these red flag laws or these extreme orders of protection are the only thing we should be doing. There's a whole bunch of common sense gun laws, there's a whole bunch of wraparound services and other things we should be doing. There's a whole bunch of things we need to do to get under hate and the kind of violence that is in this world right now and in our country right now. But this is a really important tool that this state, because of Governor Cuomo and the legislature, has given us. And I want to thank him as I introduce the governor of the state of New York.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. I want to thank President Nader very much for use of this great facility at Farmingdale. We promised that we wouldn't make a mess. You won't see a cup, not a piece of paper on the floor. Thank you very much, President. Linda Beagle-Schulman, as Randy said, is unimaginable what she went through. I think losing a child is the most unnatural and painful situation, and you wonder how you can ever get back from that, especially in such a tragic, unnecessary, ugly way. I guess if you are really a special human being, you can take the pain and transfer it into positive action. I don't think I'm that special, but Linda is, and that's exactly what she did. She took all that emotion, all that energy, all that pain, and she became one of the most effective, passionate advocates to get something done, and she did. And that's a testament to her character, and we all owe her a debt of gratitude. Linda Beagle-Schulman. My colleagues here who actually got the law passed, God bless you. Anna, Monica, Kevin, John, why don't you stand up? Let's give you a round of applause. We have our great district's attorney, Tim Sini and Madeline Singas, Suffolk and Nassau. Stand up because you're going to get it done. If you have any questions, their home phone number is 631. Only half kidding. I'd like to thank the team, the state team you'll be hearing from in a few moments, but especially we have with us our health commissioner, Howard Zucker, who has stood up for children on some very difficult issues. Children should be vaccinated when they go to school, and Commissioner Zucker stood up on that. And this vaping is now in 25% of all high school students are vaping, 40% of 12th graders are vaping. We've had 400 cases in the United States, 74 here in New York, where people who've gotten very ill, they don't even know what they're inhaling. And we just banned flavored vaping on the commissioner's suggestion, which is just to attract young people. And it's cigarettes times 2. We've addicted a whole new generation. Commissioner Zucker, thank you for your good work. Thank you. And to Randy Weingarten, thank you. Randy is a New Yorker originally, so we know each other a long time. We go way back. She was great for New York, but good Lord knows that we need her nationally right now with everything that's going on. She is one of the national leaders that we can actually call on and count on to speak intelligently and fight the good fight. Randy is also, with Linda, this all comes together. After Parkland, I spoke with Linda. After Parkland, Randy called me. This is when President Trump had the idea that all school teachers should be armed. Remember that? And the NRA said, this is great. They get to sell more guns. And the president had the plan. If the bad guys need a gun, then the teachers have to have a gun, and we'll have the shootouts right in the classroom and settle it there, the old American way, like in the cowboy movies. We would have had to add a component to the curriculum, training, target practice for all teachers. Randy called me up and said, this is really absurd, and you have to do something, and New York has to lead. And I said, well, we're working on the red flag law. She said, yeah, other states are working on that too, but you need to go further, and it has to be smarter, and it has to be a red flag law that gives the educators direct access. And that's what this law does, and that's why we're here today. And thank you, Randy Weingarten. One day when they look back in the history books, the leadership of today, I think, and all of us, will have that big question mark. Why did it take us so long to do anything in the face of this gun violence? And it's been overcome with politics in Washington, and the feelings are very strong on both sides, but I don't believe they're going to get anything done, which is a terrible shame, because something could be done here. We passed a law in this state 6 years ago, the SAFE Act, that does everything they're talking about doing in Washington today. It does everything. It was 6 years ago. Assault weapon ban, high magazine ban, mental health database check, closed all the loopholes on sales. Did everything 6 years ago. It wasn't easy politically, but 6 years later, knock wood, and maybe it's coincidental, we haven't had a mass shooting in this state, thank God. We banned assault weapons 6 years ago. No one has come up to me in that time and said, you know what, I had a legal right to buy a gun and I was deprived of that right. Nobody in 6 months. Now, gun control, gun safety is controversial and people don't like it ideologically. But there is common sense that can be brought to this. I don't think it's going to happen in Washington. So do what you can. What can we do? We have the law passed in New York, and you have this red flag law. And together with the red flag law, you have an opportunity, actually, to really make a difference. All the statistics say that there were warning signs. All the statistics say other people knew. Warning signs and other people knew. The Federal Department of Education and Secret Service did a study that said over 80% of the times that a person took a violent action, there were warning signs, and over 80% other people knew. That is frightening, but it's also an opportunity. And that's the red flag law. You have unique insight. A teacher has a unique insight, and that's why Randy was so right. You will see things that other people don't see, and you will see them with educated eyes. You will hear things, and you'll hear them in a way that other people won't hear them. You are uniquely informed and intuitive. Being with these kids, you get it, you see it, you can read it. You have not had a voice or a vehicle to do something. And the red flag law is a powerful tool. It says if you feel something, you hear something, you have a direct access through your school principal or principal's designee, and that is a direct access for action. You don't have to go to the family, you don't have to go to a law enforcement officer, you have direct access. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. But that's for a judge to decide. You don't have the authority. You're not going to take anything from anybody. All you're going to say is, I think this should be looked at because I think there may well be a problem here. And then a judge decides. But it says to you, who is in the midst of this, who has more information than anyone, more intuition than anyone, there is something you can do. And that's the red flag law. Well, we wish Washington would do this and this and this. I know, that's life, right? At the end of the day, you do what you can do. And this we can do, and this we need to do. My last point is this, just in the overall context. My mother was a former public school teacher. She would tell you, once a school teacher, always a school teacher. She turned 88 2 days ago. Don't tell her I told you the 8. I take that back. She turned 21 plus 2 days ago. She is still doing mentoring at 88 years old. She's got 5,000 kids in a mentoring program. She works 7 days a week. And she often talks about how much harder it is to be a school teacher today than it was for her. And the difference of the challenge Now you have a high percentage of kids that can't speak the language, don't have proper nutrition, don't have the necessary school supplies. On top of it, you have all these new challenges that are coming in, opioids, vaping, MS-13. It is a much harder job. And then on top of all of that, there has to be an unspoken fear that every student and every teacher has, where in the back of their mind they're saying, could today be the day that some person walks in here and it happens to me? That has to be there. And we've never been through this situation before. And that is a heavy burden to carry. And when you get to the point as a society where they're now designing schools to anticipate an active shooter scenario, where are we? Where are we? And how do we get from this place? So the burden you carry and what you have to do is extraordinary. And every way we can support it, we will. Because your job was always tough. It's gotten even tougher. And we all understand that, and we respect you for it, and we thank you for it. In the meantime, this red flag law, it's a great tool, but you need to know how to use the tool. Everyone has to be on the same page, so the police and the DAs, everyone here, will hear the same facts, have the same understanding, so we can actually inject some sanity and some humanity into this situation. And I believe you are going to save lives. That is not from drama class. That is true. I believe you are going to save lives. Thank you, and God bless you.